Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Duel Screens Podcast, the world's number one indie game interview show, probably. I mean, we've done this for a lot of times. I think we're approaching 300 interviews now. It's a lot. It's a lot. But yet my interview skills have not gotten any better, unfortunately. On today's episode, we are introducing it's kind of a returning guest in a sense. We spoke at last E3 Online, and joining us is Jochem Pouwels, the co-CEO over at TRAGSoft and developer of Coromon, a modern take on the classic monster taming genre. Jochem, how's it going, buddy? Welcome back-ish to the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, it's going well. As in, we're really in an exciting time at the moment. Right before release, getting all of the finishing touches in. Yeah, it's going great.
Yeah, you're launching your game in about, I would say, what, 4 or 5 weeks from now, more or less, like towards the end of March?
5, 6, I think.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Well, by the time this interview goes live, it'll be much closer to the actual release date. So it could be like the day before. We don't know when this is gonna go up, but
we'll see.
So what's that like? Like, you're at the home stretch now with your game. And before we actually dive into the game itself, what's going through your mind as you're approaching the finish line with the release just around the corner?
To be honest, it's a pretty amazing feeling to get this whole journey of 8+ years and finally getting to the finish line. Really as in, while you're developing a game, it's not always as beautiful as you see the end result. But yeah, now I finally see all of these stories coming together, the plot holes getting fixed, all of the fun characters you're going to meet, all of the skills, all of the monsters getting together. And yeah, it finally feels like the full game I always managed, and it really resulted in the thing that I had in mind. So that's really exciting.
How do you find the resolve and the patience to work on the same thing for 8 years? I feel like, I like to do things and start some projects, and I get really like deep, my hooks deep into it early on, but then the interest fades away. I stop finding the time. How do you find that commitment to just say, you know what, no matter how long this takes, I am going to get this thing out the door?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's almost a second nature for me. As in, I wake up and the first thing I do is go to work, as in go upstairs and go to my office and start working. And I don't really see it as in for me, working on Coromon is maybe even more satisfying than gaming. As in,
wow,
it's fun. As in, it's making a game, and it's helping me progress. And yes, as in it helps me get to my dream of releasing the game I always have envisioned, but I enjoy doing it. And yeah, it doesn't even cross my mind while developing through all of these years, as in, oh, I need to keep this going, I need to finish this. It's really second nature. As in, I'm not sure what I will do when this is all finished, as in perhaps as in
yeah, so the sense I'm getting is it doesn't feel like work for you. It's like
not even,
you're just enjoying something that you love doing, and it happens to be your job.
Yeah, it's really satisfying to get new features in, come up with new ideas, brainstorm with your colleagues to just come up with new things and constantly see your game getting improved, getting better. That's just what I love. And for me, it's last couple of weeks I've been working more than usual, so that's a little bit tough. But normally I would just not even think about that I'm working. It's just second nature.
So what is your game? I kind of gave a brief description in the beginning of in the introduction there, but why don't you, as the father of this baby, as it were, give us the pitch. What is Coromon?
think in a very short sentence, I would say it's the ideal balance between a JRPG and a monster taming game. As in, a monster taming game, in our opinion, isn't just that isn't always fun. I think a lot of it comes from new mechanics, interesting puzzles, interesting storylines, having people really go through a journey, experiencing someone else's feelings and that kind of stuff. And to me, that is what Coromon is, as in it's constantly being surprised by new mechanics, by new Coromon in their own habitat, constantly being seeing totally new biomes, which bring new overworld powers, and it's just constantly being surprised by new elements, I think.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that attracted me most when I first played this game, there was a demo out sometime back, that it was more than just about catching the monsters and sort of filling out like, encyclopedia of that which you've captured. It was a strong emphasis on story, on exploration, on there's dungeon elements, there's puzzles. So it was more like you took a genre that is known and loved by so many gamers, and it's matured now. It's grown up a little bit. It's taken more other elements from other successful genres, and you brought them in and you've blended them in a way that feels very natural. Like, why couldn't this always be in games like this before?
Yeah, I'm not sure, as in perhaps because my journey was 8 years and it takes a lot of time to really make a game, pay attention to all of the small details, to have a ton of new mechanics in, to have all kinds of new stuff in. But yeah, I think the modern gaming industry isn't always abiding by the rules set in the early days. As in, when I think back in to my youth, the games back then were, as in, the gamers were different, I think, even. As in, they were enjoying games like Zelda, Golden Sun, and those games weren't big, but it was just an adventure playing that game and finding all of the small nitty-picky things and finding a special item somewhere in a dungeon. And it really, I think those elements is what I try to get back again. As in, these days it's all about grinding for the best thing. And even with mobile gaming, it even goes in a worse direction, I think. And what I want to bring back, as in, I want to stir up the gaming industry in that regards, and I want to get that charm back, as in when it was the game developer creating the game and not a publisher which is only out for money.
Right.
Yeah, as in which you see a lot, as in with the current NFT trend and stuff like that. It's all about money nowadays, even for the players with Diablo, with the marketplace. And I just think I'm a different kind of gamer than you mostly see nowadays, and that's why Coromon is becoming the way it is.
So we're not going to be getting any Coromon NFTs, is what you're telling me. It's not going to happen.
No.
So when you first started making this project, was this born out of you being a fan of monster taming games and wanting to change the formula up? Like, how did the origin story go for Coromon in terms of your vision and all of that?
It actually started not that far from a Pokemon type game, as in it did start like that, as in, but the original idea was there was no Pokemon game. That was 8 years ago. Nowadays there are Pokemon-like games on mobile. But that is how it all started. As in, I wanted to create my own Pokemon-like game on mobile because I thought, it has always been on a handheld. As in, why wouldn't it be on a phone?
Right.
That's how it started. But yeah, as in through the years, it pretty much got out of hand. My expectations were higher, as in I was playing it, and I found out that I didn't want a Pokemon game. And this is like 1 year in, as in, because it was more than nostalgia speaking to me. You want a Pokemon game on your mobile, but as in actually developing it, it wasn't actually what I wanted. As in playing it, it wasn't that fun. As in it was a lot like Pokemon back then. So yeah, we started coming up with our new idea, with our own ideas, as in analyzing what was it back then that added the charm to a game. And over the years, we've just, I think we've had 1,000 brainstorms about things, and that's how all kinds of things are built. As in, being a independent developer sometimes gives you the opportunities that not a lot of game studios have, I think. As in, when you decide on a certain mechanic, I'll just do that. Okay, it adds 6 months to my journey, but let's just do it. I like it. As in, I want this in my game. And those kind of decisions in the end is what made Coromon what it is today, I think.
Yeah, it sounds like, you could have easily taken the path of least resistance and said to yourself, I want to make a Pokemon-like game. Pokemon-like games are walking around in towns, catching creatures, doing something of a gym battle to get a badge to progress, get all the badges, get to the end. There's some light story elements, but that's not the main focus. Draw some goofy creatures that may or may not evolve, push it out the door, and it'll find an audience. But it's interesting how you realize that you're the one making the game, that this is your game and you can make it any way you want to make it. And it could be so much more than just a Pokemon like game, which is, we have this beautiful result now in a game that, while looks like Pokemon on the surface, it is very deep, much deeper than that. And it has a lot of amazing features and qualities. And I want you to get into how you separate this game from Pokemon in terms of gameplay and style and all of those things.
I think with every decision we make, in every regard, is it user interface, is it the overworld, is it in battles, we just it's not like we don't look at Pokemon, as in, of course we know
it's hard not to.
Pokemon. Yeah, it's hard not to, but what we do is we try to reimagine, as in, don't stop there. As in, isn't it more interesting to change a mechanic instead of just agreeing that it's, as in a good example, and this one is it's still pretty close to Pokemon, but the small tweak we made there did resonate a lot with our community, as in, it's our potential system, for example. And with just a minor tweak, as in, it's resulted in so many more players enjoying our mechanic. And the potential mechanic, a quick explanation of it, it's do you know the shiny system of Pokemon?
Correct, yes.
Where there's a very low chance, and I didn't even know about it, as in, before starting this game, I didn't even know about shinies, as in, I've never encountered it. At least I never knew I encountered it. But while developing this game, I encountered the mechanic of Pokemon, the shiny system, and I thought, as in, if I would encounter this as a player, what would my feeling be? As in, would I enjoy it? Would I, as in, if a casual player, as in, because I'm more of a casual player than a hardcore gamer, I think.
Right.
And I try to look at it from multiple perspectives. And what we did is actually, we did use the mechanic, as in it's still a color variation on your Coromon, but we try to combine it with different mechanics like the IV and EV system, because I like customizable stats. As in, as a casual gamer, I don't like to get into needing to look everything up on the internet. I just don't want to grind for stuff, as in, because
Right.
time is valuable. And yeah, as in finding middle ground in there and combining certain mechanics, trying to use them in a way they haven't been used before. It keeps them familiar, but they do have the touch I want my game to have, as in they do have the, as in, what would I change about these other kinds of game that I didn't really like, and I can do that over now, as in I can design a new mechanic from scratch which suits the way I like. And that is essentially what Coromon is. It's a sequence of things that of things I like, as in it's that's how it's done, actually.
Yeah, I never really liked the idea of shinies being so rare in Pokemon. And then when you finally find one, it isn't super powerful or has maxed out stats in every count. It's just has a little bit of a color change, and some are just not even noticeable at first glance. Like Pikachu looks like just like a Pikachu.
Yeah,
Little...
and understanding the motivations of players, and I think I can do it well, as in understanding where players come from, how they see a certain thing. As in, I can imagine, even if I would have found a shiny back in the day that I was playing Pokemon, I wouldn't have a motivation to find another one. As in, I would find out, oh, this is a 1 in 3,000 chance. Fun that I have one, but I wouldn't start looking for another one. And I try to make it more accessible, and I do this with every part of the game, essentially, as in, I don't like to hide things, as in what sometimes other games do, as in they hide descriptions and you need to know what a weather effect does, as in weather effects in Pokemon. How do you know what they do? As in, you need to look it up. And I think making everything accessible did make it easier for other people to enjoy the things we care about, as well.
Yeah, that must be, I think, one of the most challenging aspects when you tackle a genre that, at least with monster taming, it's so most people know it only for Pokemon. Like you can say a game like a shooter genre, you can name a handful of successful IPs under that umbrella, but when it comes to this particular genre, people just think Pokemon. So how do you get past that initial comparison and say to yourself, how can we make this game be more than just it looks like Pokemon?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. It's a constant battle somehow. It's a constant. I don't want to be Pokemon. I want to play
Right.
Mario. We chose this genre, and I judge my own game based on how I would look at it. And I wouldn't like a game which is exactly like Pokemon. So why should I design my things to be exactly like Pokemon? As in, I want to solve the issues I had with that game, but also introduce new things I enjoyed in other games. And with that mindset, it is no issue anymore. As in, I just make what I love, and what I love is not Pokemon, only Pokemon. So that's it goes naturally. It's not something I keep thinking about. It's not something I keep paying attention to. It's just I'm creating my own game, and I just look a little at Pokemon, yeah, as in sometimes to get inspiration for stuff, but it's not that I'm making Pokemon. And when
Right.
you're not making Pokemon, it automatically doesn't become Pokemon. So yeah, that's how it goes, I think.
Yeah. So kind of walk us through what the core gameplay loop looks like. Like, what is a standard like level, so to speak? How does that play out in Coromon? How does the
Yeah, there are
progression look like?
a bunch of sections in the game. I think the game is separated in a section per element, as in we like to keep the player interested by whenever they finish a section, offer them a completely new type of area, as in the all of the region, and this really entangles with the plot, as in with the elemental titans creating an environment, and they created 6 biomes. So every one of these biomes comes with a completely new story, as in it's actually yeah, as in every time you finish a storyline, it feels like a different ending, as in finishing the desert town feels like an ending, and you can begin a new journey in that next town. And the gameplay loop there is almost every time you go through a route, you encounter a whole bunch of new Coromon in that new type. You encounter new mechanics like surfing or yeah, whatever. You encounter new people, and every time you finish a section of the game, you just have the fun of exploring a whole new area, getting to know that people, finishing their side quests, but also the main quest line, finding out about what the issue is, as in every town, of course, has a certain issue in the town, which
drama.
is, yeah. And yeah, just discovering multiple things, as in discovering the monsters, discovering the people in the town, discovering what the conflict is in the town, and then eventually doing actions to resolve that conflict in the town, and then having a boss battle. And then the fun, yeah, as in we try to make every town very distinct, as in it's really a different kind of gameplay even.
Yeah, I think that was, what I could gather from the demo, that was the most attractive part. It was the sections feel very distinct and with a purpose and with a very certain story to tell. And then when you get into a dungeon, there's some puzzle elements too. And then again, there's like a massive boss fight. And so it feels more like a Zelda game to me in those aspects, like that sense of that. I don't want to say like dread, but it's a thinking man's game.
Yeah,
It's not just running around and battling creatures on and on.
Yeah, it's tough to explain because it's so much. As in,
Yeah,
even when I'm summing it up, as in, what is the core gameplay like? As in, yeah, it's this.
How much time do you have?
Yeah, as in, and that's the charm, I think. As in, constantly being motivated to discover something else, and then, oh, I want to fight, and then you're going to focus a little bit on, yeah, doing some battles to find a better Coromon or to raise your Coromon's level, or your, as in the world is full of unique NPCs, which again come with a new mechanic, as in you can, for example, transfer your Coromon to a new spinner. And yeah, as in you just encounter one single NPC, and that can trigger you, as in, oh, I want my Coromon in all of the same spinner. As in, when you try them out, just, yeah, some people like that, people like me. But yes, and just finding that single character can even, yeah, bring you a couple of hours of gameplay again, as in just finding the right spinners, or yeah, getting some money together to do that. And yeah, with a game that has been developed for 8 years, there's a ton of that. And yeah,
I would hope so. After 8 years, you're just gonna catch monsters and that's it. That's the whole game. It took us 8 years to make this game. Speaking about those monsters, where because I marvel at games, not only Pokemon, but Digimon and other similar monster trapping hunting games. Where do these creatures come from in terms of their creation that starts up in here, up in the old noggin of yours? Do you sit down and just sort of start to come up with something? Do you have like the element first in mind? Is it going to be a lizard, a bird? How does the creation process of the monsters themselves look like for you?
Yeah, I think there's a separation between the developer and artist there. As in, we as a developer, we know the areas we design. As in, we designed for example, a swamp. Well, you have a swamp, then you need to decide which Coromon can I feel that, because as a player you're entering a certain environment, and you want to feel like that's a realistic scenario. As in, when you enter a swamp, you want to fight some gooey monsters, or you want to find some frogs, or you want to find some, and together with the element, as in the swamp, for example, is a water-ish area, but it also is close to another area which is electric. And with all of that information, we just sit down, have the type. We have certain types of animals or certain things we wanted to be related to. Sometimes those are gods, Greek gods. Sometimes those are animals. Sometimes those are anything else. And then we sit together with our monster designer. And also this is multiple iterations, as in we've had multiple monster designers and redesigned monsters. And this is not just a single time coming up with a design, but almost trial and error, I think, as in let's try to design this. Yeah, this feels great as a great fit, and sometimes it doesn't, and we try to analyze what's wrong with it, as in isn't it, as in, because a game like this, the monsters shouldn't be monsters. They should be, I like to call them creatures, because a creature sounds different to me than a monster. As a monster sounds like an enemy, and a creature sounds like something you want to have.
Something in nature that just walking around and
and you could see yourself
non-threatening.
Sometimes it is, but then it should have that creature factor, I think. And that's essentially how a monster is designed. It's having the right people in your team that can visualize it. And for the developer side, it's mostly deciding on what fits in the environment you're making.
And we're such assholes just trying to capture creatures and have them do our bidding. It's like the nerve of people. It's like in all these games, I always feel like you just leave them all alone just to live their lives in nature.
Yeah, in a sense. But we try to address that fact by having the spinners, as in the backstory about spinners, as in we try to communicate that fact that the Coromon are in a very nice climate control there, as in it's exactly their temperature, it's exactly what they like, and addressing that fact makes me feel a little bit better.
I've always cracked up at the whole idea of monster taming as a genre, because I can understand catching a pigeon-like bird or a tadpole or a squirrel, but then when you're capturing things that are essentially the devil or Satan, and you're controlling it, but it can also eat you or tear your face off. It's always amused me that idea that you're mainly playing as a child in these games.
True. As in even our user base is indeed, as in, while we even focus on a pretty serious story, I think we do feel like that a big part of our user base is teenager, as in a child.
So that's actually a good segue. I kind of want to, because you mentioned story elements and how the sections are sort of, all contained plot lines. But what is the main quest look like? What is our character's motivation? What is the overarching story? What is the
Basically,
conflict in Coromon? Yeah, without giving away too much,
yeah,
of
sure.
course.
Basically, it's starting as you can fill that in yourself age. We try to don't put the player in a certain age criteria, so everyone can enjoy it in their own experience. But essentially, you start a job at as in a high-tech company. That company appreciates your motivation and puts you on a new project, as in you're an intern doing a new project, and that project gets bigger pretty quickly, as in you find out spoiler alert, but as in if you don't want to know anything about the story, definitely mute it for a little bit. But essentially what happens is aliens come into play.
Oh my god, this now it's off the rails.
Yeah, it starts out pretty casual, but at some point there are 3 people, and we don't even call them aliens, but they do call you aliens in their own language. But
wow,
those people have their own motivation why they're here, and you don't know anything about that, as in they just did one action, and you have to figure out, as in you don't have to, but you will figure out throughout the whole story what they're actually doing. And as in we try to not make it a pure evil.
Right, there's like a gray area.
Yeah, it's a gray area, and I think judging those people on their actions throughout the story and finding out what they're actually doing is a fun thing too. As in that is, yeah, to me it looks like a fun thing to do.
Man, if I wasn't sold before on this game, you mentioning aliens to me is just like I need this game right now in my life as soon as possible.
It is a late decision, as in that grew into our story, as in we didn't come up with aliens from the start, as in just as in we were playing the game ourselves and thinking what would spice up the story and would fit perfectly within this environment. And yeah, so we were making a background, and this also entails another element in our game, which are titans. So there's actually multiple things going on there, but essentially as the main character, you started investigating titans, but because of those aliens, it seems all more important, and and it actually turns around pretty quickly at 50%, 60% of the game, and it all ties together. Then the aliens, the titans, why they're there. And finding that out is a whole journey. And
man, I'm getting like some Godzilla vibes right now. A little bit. And Godzilla always found a way to involve aliens in their storylines, and they were always insane, but they were always enjoyable to watch. So I really think that should be your main talk to your, publisher and marketing team. Just have the aliens part be front and center. You're gonna sell like 1 billion copies.
It is an interesting twist on the monster-tamer genre. I agree with that.
I can imagine you guys like one day at the office just working away, designing some creature, and then someone has on the television watching a little bit of Ancient Aliens, and you're just like, wait a minute, what if we put aliens in our game?
It was a funny story, actually.
Sounds like a good idea.
It's our lawyer, as in we had a lawyer just for contracts and such.
Right.
But he's a pretty young lawyer, and he liked to play games. So he was also, even when we hired him, he was a fan of our game and was diving into it. and was giving some feedback, as in as in the team feels evil. Don't you have something else? And then I was joking, what about aliens? And then it got a whole thought process going.
And then everyone's ears like perked up, like, what did he say, aliens? This man's a genius.
Yeah, and when I started thinking about that, and then I thought, why didn't I think of this before? This is a perfect fit. It explains perfectly why these are here, and it all came together. And it again added a lot of development time to it, as in at a late stage, as in even when the demo came out, aliens weren't a thing. As in,
wow, so it is very recent then. Holy shit, this is like,
yeah, but yeah, it did. But it did
so wild.
It is exactly what I wanted, as in I want to do these kind of things, as in I want to be able, as in if I think, okay, this is way better, and of course there are limits, as in it's not a limited trial of doing edits, but yeah, as in when I started thinking about it, it solved so many issues I had myself at that point with the story, as in I could see it going there. Yeah, it just was a perfect fit.
See, I would love to be that guy on a game development team. I can't draw, I can't code. I can write a little bit. I can give you a good synopsis or a good plot point or a good overview, but writing the whole thing, maybe not so much. I could be the guy in the background with like a bag of Cheetos on the couch being like, what if we did this? I want that job.
Yeah, I think that's a great addition to the team.
I would love to be that guy on the team.
Yeah, I think everyone should have one.
Because you never know. Because you're so focused on a specific vision of what the game. Because I'm sure you thought about this game for a long time. It didn't just pop overnight in your head like, oh, this is it. You've had many years to, even before making it, to think about it, while you're at your day job or while you're having lunch or while you're in the shower. It's always in the back of your mind, sort of fermenting the idea. And then when you come time to actually make it, it's like, okay, here's my idea. Now I'm making it. And then other ideas can sort of permeate and infect. And it's like, it kind of grows from there. So yes, I would love to be that guy to make games be huge in scope and take 10 years to develop because my ideas are so crazy.
Go on.
So I want to ask you, as a sort of to branch out from that point, what got you into making games? Were you just from your youth always playing video games and you thought, I want to make one of these one day when I'm older and have the skills? Was it just you saw that it was a very thriving and growing industry and you want to be a part of it? What got you into this as a career path?
Somehow a bit of the both things you mentioned. I did game a lot, as in my youth I was I played Call of Duty like 10-12 hours a day. I did it professionally.
Wait, that's your youth? How old are you?
I'm 30.
Okay. You're a
just
baby.
call it my youth. Yeah. as in, I mean, in my younger years, as in I gamed a lot, but that was not the reason that I started creating games. It's somehow between there, because I somehow stopped gaming completely when I started developing games. And somehow it just got my interest, both because the gaming industry was thriving, but also because I'm a software engineer and I can do it.
There it is.
And okay. I slowly went into, initially with because I wanted to create something big, as in a success. But after a while, that slowly turned into, I want to create something of my own. And that other motivation just went away. And I thought, in the end, it will be all right. And I'll just keep working hard and I'll see what I get out of it. And that's a bit of the process, how it all started.
Yeah, I mean, 8 years is a lot of time to throw into a project that, it sounds like it wasn't like a lifelong childhood dream. It was just you were a fan of games and you had the knowledge on how to make them on a technical standpoint. Like, I can code this, I know how to write all the word magic that makes a game come to life, and now I want to do this as a full-time job. And to see the end result, I mean, when you look at this game for the first time, it really grabs you with how well the assets are and the sprites, and there's a lot of love and detail put into this project, and it really comes through. Like, I would never have guessed that this came a little bit later in your like adult life, because most devs I speak to, they were just, as babies, they wanted to have this game made, and you're not in that column when it comes to game development. But still, the
Well,
passion still looks like it's there.
yeah,
Like
the
it's
passion is still there. As in, the
yeah,
passion is definitely there, but it didn't start like that, I think. As in,
yeah.
it started with me being interested in coding, because I even get excited about any coding. As in, I just like coding, I think in coding, and that's how it all started. But throughout the whole making a game process, I just enjoyed, coming up with the exact thing I would like in a game. And I'm very strict on that, as in everything should be fun, and I don't settle with things that are less than fun. As in, it just means I have to work harder, think harder, come up with better things.
Mm.
And I didn't even know I had that in me while I started making games. As
Oh
in, I
wow.
started out as a coder, but yeah, this whole journey was a very creative, as in making the story, making all of the worlds come alive, and imagining why things are fun, as in the whole, why is a game fun, as in the game design, all that kinds of stuff I learned on the job. As in,
Yeah, you learn while doing.
yeah.
Yeah, that's I feel that it's a big part of it, because you can only play so many games and have an understanding of how a genre or how a mechanic should work. But when you're actually sitting down to bring it to life in your own way, in your own special, unique way, that is the real challenge. Because there's no exact blueprint for how these things should work. I mean, there's some foundation of it, but when it's just you and you're coding it, it just sounds
Yeah,
intense to me.
I can't even design it from scratch, I think. As in, I just need to start working on it, see how it feels, and change it along the way. It just needs time, it just needs passion, it just needs a vision that's as a critical look what is really fun, I think.
What's been the most challenging aspect over these last 8 years in getting this project now so close to the
I think
end? It's a long time to look back on, by the way. So think carefully.
definitely. Now, as in, because I'm a coder by nature, that wasn't the hardest aspect. As in, that's just a fun aspect to me. It's it isn't like it is too difficult to make a game. It's coding is coding, and it's not like huge issues you're solving there. But I think the creative part is the hardest. As in, things like finding out why a certain town feels fun. As in, you can have a dozen millions of kind of playthroughs to a town, but finding out why things are fun. And I think the toughest sub part within that is making people recognize the thing that you focused on, because you can write a whole story, for example, and if that isn't snappy enough, if that isn't talking exactly about the right subjects, people won't get it, and people won't enjoy that fun. And I think trying to get that message across, as in making people think in a certain way, as in really, I'm not sure if there is a phrase for it, but letting them think different things, and then finally it ended up being something else. Designing that whole journey, that was definitely the hardest part, but also a very fun part of development.
Before we segue into our very fun, very silly rapid fire portion of the interview,
Sure.
around the corner, I want to ask you one last thing. What do you, on Coromon specifically, what do you want the main takeaway to be for players when they sit down and play this game and the credits roll? What do you want us to feel or take away from the world of Coromon?
Good question.
I love the little pause, like, oh shit, this is some real shit right now.
I really think, as in, we've been working a lot on the ending lately, as in the ending of the game, and something like that. It's very important. It shouldn't feel like, as in, I've watched enough TV series in my life that ended in a certain way that just felt bad. And I think in a game, the ending, as in,
you could have a bad ending in this game.
Yeah,
it's gonna make you feel really, really sad and lose all hope and faith in humanity.
Something like that, yeah. But I think that as in, throughout the whole journey, you're not getting too much information, and at the end, you finally fill in some blanks. And that's the tough part again. Making people think about the things they see, and yeah, giving them the final puzzle pieces at the end, but also making that whole scenery make sense with the composing, with the music there. Some surprise there, but also a technical aspect of it, as in it should also feel challenging. It should feel, and it's really, the ending really resulted in that, I think, as in that's the takeaway. As in, it's hard, as in it should be a little bit emotional, a bit proud, a bit.
I like that answer. I like it. I feel it's especially tough to convey emotion in a game that looks like this, because I grew up playing a lot of pixel art. I grew up in the NES era, way before Call of Duty came out, by the way. And I was always surprised, when I play games now that are very story driven, but have a lot of deep and professional and well done voice acting, and there's facial movement that can convey emotion on a very deep level, and you feel something while you're playing. But then I think back to when I was younger, and games that still looked this simple and basic, if it was written well enough, if it made you care about character enough, you could get an emotional response out of a little pixel guy flashing and disappearing, and then that was like them dying away, basically, right? Yeah. And you felt something because you made me care. So if you're gonna make me care and have an emotional response when I walk away from this game, I'm here for it. I dig it. I dig it.
You'll dig it.
I dig it. All right, it is time for some rapid fire. This is where we learn a little bit more about you, things that we don't want to know, but we're going to ask anyway, because that's what rapid fire is all about. So this is, I think, oh boy, I had some funky ones I want to ask, but let's start with some basics. If a couple of members of let's say someone on your team gets a phone call in the middle of the night from the local authorities saying that you have just been arrested for committing a crime, what crime have you committed?
I think hacking.
Really? Oh boy. What are you hacking? What's your first target?
Not really the hacking into computers, but more into so you may know, as in I sometimes win prizes in some small
Oh,
games like that, and
got it.
yeah, that kind of stuff, and yeah, that's a nice.
Mm. So
I really think that's the first thing people will think about me, as in they'll know it is hacking.
you're at the casino and you hack some of the slot machines and you kept winning the jackpot.
Well, I won't start on that, but I'll take the smaller targets.
Well, speaking about winning the jackpot, let's say you had a choice between having $1 million in cash or an exact clone of yourself. Which would you pick?
I think the $1 million.
Okay.
And I think that's a more long-term thing that is fun. And I don't think it's as in a clone of yourself is fun, but yeah, as in after a certain time, it's gets usual. I think.
What is your most useless talent?
I don't even know. I can't really think of anything at the moment. Do I have talent?
I mean,
I
was like, I have useful talent, so I don't have time for useless talent.
No, sorry, I really can't.
Listen. I think that just speaks more to you. You're just a talented man, and all your talents have a use and a function, and none are pointless. So that's an answer.
Let's go with that.
What is your kryptonite? What is your weakness? What is something that you just give into, and you have to give into it? Be it a food, a beverage, a TV show, an activity. What's something you're just like, I can't, I have to do it. It's just a feeling inside you get, and you can't avoid it, no matter how much willpower you think you have.
Sounds very weird, but for me, that's work. As in, I want to keep creating things, and I don't have the small things. As in, I must have some. I'm a very rational guy. As in, I watch things from a distance. As in, yeah, food is great, but I also want to. Yeah.
All right, this isn't a job interview. This is like the most. It's like the most like.
No, but it really goes that way in my mind. As in, I like to create things and show that to people, but other than that, I don't have any.
It's like, what are your 5 main weaknesses? Well, oh boy, I work really hard. I work too hard. I always show up early and I stay too late, and I ignore my family to get the job done. I think those are my main weaknesses. Can you now hire me for this job? Let's see. Well, first off, do you drink? Are you someone that drinks alcohol in any way, socially, recklessly, addictively? Do you just drink offhand? Yes or no question?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I think I should always ask that first, going into the actual question. So you are out celebrating the release of Coromon, out March 31st, by the way, listeners. And you've had too much to drink with your colleagues. What word best describes you when you've had a little bit too much to drink?
Annoying, I think.
Oh.
As in, because I want to do things at that time, I think. As in, let's go here, and I don't. I don't have an angry drunk. It's just annoying. And at a certain point, I'm not very active anymore.
Fair enough. Do you always clean up right after you cook? Or do you just let it sit there for a bit? Maybe you'll get to it in the morning.
The latter.
Yeah. I can go either way on that. I feel like if I'm cooking an intense dish, I can clean while it's cooking in the oven. But other times I'm like, I'm just gonna call a service to come clean this for me. A
Yeah, I
week,
can have it both ways. And sometimes I just do it immediately, and yeah,
a week
it's
from now. Well, speaking about doing the dishes, what household chore do you least enjoy doing? What's the one that it's like,
the laundry.
the laundry?
I don't mind cleaning because it really gets you somewhere, but somehow the laundry only gets you to a reset or something. As in, it doesn't feel satisfying to me. As in, you need to do it every time again, and you can't avoid making things. As in having laundry, and you can avoid having to clean up a lot of times.
Right. And unless you have like a bunch of dirty clothes all over your house, you can't really get a sense that you've done something when you have clean laundry. Like cleaning your house, you can tell there's a clear before and after. Like, oh, look how nice everything looks now. I've accomplished something. But when you put your laundry in the drawers and in the closet, it's like, what have I done for the last hour and a half?
Yeah, that's what I mean with a
nothing to show for it.
It just goes back to the original state and doesn't give any feeling of appreciation to yourself, as in, oh, finally.
This is why I use like a drop-off service. I'm like, here's my bag of shit. This is your problem now. I'm gonna go back and play my video games instead of doing the laundry. If you could use a time machine, it could only go either forwards in time or backwards in time. Which way would you go?
Backwards. There's enough things to do in the past that can use, and the only thing my mind goes to is financial. As in, it's very easy. As in, being financially independent is something I want to be, because that allows you to do things without any other external factor saying what you have to do. You can just do what you enjoy.
Yeah, that's the dream. That's the dream. What is something that you are terrible at, but you wish you could do a whole lot better?
I think dancing, because I like to party.
Yeah, I can relate to that.
Yeah. As in, I like to go, as in, take a sip and go onto the dance floor. But yeah, as in, I would love to have been able to really being able to dance. It's a little bit less.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. That's like, I've never resonated more with an answer. I feel every time there's a party or where like some like bar or like club. And my clubbing days are a little bit behind me at this point, but it's been it's been a while. But when I see my friends actually dancing well and I try to jump in and get in on the action, I always get like, what are these moves you're doing? And I'm like, I'm just gonna go back and get drunk until I vomit in the corner.
Well, I like to go crazy. I said I do like to go to the dance floor, but yeah, just being able to dance better is a.
I think if someone is dancing worse than you dance, that gives you some leeway. Maybe like,
I think that says something about my friends then.
What would you rather have? An actual get out of jail free card, so you could commit any crime you want and you'll get away with it, or would you rather have a key that unlocks any door but not your jail cell?
The key, as in, I have no intention of doing anything illegal.
It's a skeleton key
of doing anything like that. As in, the key comes with a lot of convenience. It sounds like so. Definitely that one.
All right. Let's see here. What else we got? What is the dumbest way you've ever injured yourself?
Well, I'm not sure if you can call it dumb, because I was a very small child. As in, that's what very small childs do.
Yes, it's true.
I think I said to my mom, "Hey, look, I can walk off the stairs with no hands," and then I broke two Not even how to say it in English, but I broke 2 bones. And then I fell off the stairs and
which
just to show off.
Which bones did you break? Was it like something in your arms or legs or wrists or hands or
gotta look
ribs?
up the English word for it. As in, let me.
Oh my god!
It was both my clavicles.
Oh, you're okay. All right. Oh my god. Yes, I was a very accident-prone child too. Never any broken bones, but a lot of scabs, scars, bumps, bruises, like falling. I would always fall down. I remember one time in the 5th grade, my teacher thought that I was beaten because I had like a lot of scars. I was like, oh no, I just fell down. I was walking up a narrow path in a driveway and I fell, and then I fell down the series of like concrete steps. It was like this really bad tumble, and I was cut up like on my hands, on my knees, and they were just like, "What's wrong? What's happening at home?" I'm like, everything's fine. I just fell. But that's like the most like domestic abuse answer you can give. I fell down some stairs.
I can imagine, yeah.
Because I'm stupid. All right. If you could pick any one of your Coromon to cameo in the next Pokemon game, who would it be? Who's your favorite of the bunch?
I'll have a quick look through all of our designs, just to have a look if anything is updated.
Just to make sure you don't forget the good one.
I'll have a full list. So I think,
while you're trying to find that, do you know offhand how many are in the game you can catch and evolve, and like numbers wise, like how big is your quote unquote Pokédex?
At the moment it's 112, but it's evolving, as in we're only putting the designs in that are actually up to our standards, as in we do have more designs, but we won't put this in the games yet, as in we still have plans to updates, and when they are finished and they do have a nice skill set, they are balanced, then they'll find a way in the game. But I think lately I've been not even sure what the name is, and I just know the code names. That's so bad. It's a big ice creature. He's in a big chunk of ice.
What's the code name?
Ice Creature 3.
Oh my god. Come on, all you Pokemon fans. There's a new hot monster catching game. It's starring not really... Ice Creature 3.
But it's the only one not based on any certain animal or something. But yeah.
You guys need to work on your code names. That sounds like
it's not like the Ice Toucan or something. It's this one is just a creature, and it's in a big chunk of ice, and he's flying around there. It's Cry Beast. Just looked it up.
Got it. There it is. We got it. All right. And what could be a good final question? Okay. So you've been obviously a fan of games for a long time. You're making games now. You're working with your own. This is your dream, your vision. The game does really well. It's a success. It's going to be, just so you know, spoilers. I can see the future. I've been there. This game is going to be a huge success by looking at it. But let's say you are approached by a well-known gaming publisher, be it a Nintendo, a Sega, a Microsoft, a PlayStation, Square Enix, one of the big AAA publishers. And they say to you, we really liked what you did with Coromon, and we would like you to create a sequel for one of our established, well-known, iconic IPs. Which IP would you like to work on? Any choice, any IP.
Zelda, I think. Yeah.
Zelda.
Yeah. There's a really, as in they through all of the years, I know Zelda, they kept getting that charm into their games, and they never settled with as in making it less fun. As in they always want their games to be fun, and that would be the game, I think. And that's the first thing that comes to mind.
And would you stick to that sort of top-down 2D retro Zelda look when making your game?
No, especially since they already moved ahead. No, I think it's hard to get people within an IP to get them back to the old designs. But ideally, if I had the people that can really create such a world in 3D and all of the budgets, I might move to 3D. But
right,
I like the agileness, the being versatile of 2D, that you can really do things without having to think about the consequences about, oh, this requires this much art, and you can just do it. And that would be the reason why I would stick with 2D.
Yeah, I think that those two things can coexist. Like we just got like a brand new Metroid. It's a 2D side scroller, but it has the 3D modeling, of course. But then we're also getting the full-blown Metroid Prime 4 at some point. I think Zelda could have like its Breath of the Wild full-blown 3D open world game, and then a nice little retro throwback release.
Yeah, As in, to be honest, as in now you're talking about it, does sounds like, as in I would enjoy a new 2D Zelda. As in, give me that. As in, that would also. But it's hard for an existing fan base, I think. As in, But ideally, I would go back to 2D. I think.
Yeah. I mean, again, we can have the most high-tech, high-end, most ray-traced 60 FPS graphics in the world that look almost like a real human being. But I think pixel art has a timeless quality to it. And I'm not sure if it was how I was raised or the games I played growing up, but I will always be drawn to that aesthetic. And I think indie devs like you are doing it a great service by keeping it alive and not just cashing in on the nostalgia effect, but you're really trying to elevate the art form and the gameplay and all of it, and bringing new and fun ideas to genres we love, like Pokemon.
Definitely, yeah.
That is my review for Coromon. All right, that's gonna do it for this week's show. It was an absolute blast. Again, Coromon is out on March 31st, not too long from now. I'm very excited. So give us the whole spiel, social media. Where can our listeners find more about you, Coromon? Give us the whole thing right now.
I'd say start at coromon.com and then find a link to all social media we have over there. If it's Insta, Twitter, Reddit, anything. That's the starting point.
All right. And we'll have all those links for your listeners in the description below. So please check out Coromon when it comes out. Support this team, support indies. They are in a lot of ways the last bastion of creativity in the industry. I feel like
all I'd say is don't forget the wishlist. That really helps us get out there. So
get that visibility out there. So dude, thank you so much for coming on the show. I was so excited to talk to you today and getting a more deep look into the game and how your mind works when designing a game like this has been a lot of fun. And I wish you all the success. And it's going to be a huge game, I feel, when it comes out.
It was fun being here
this month.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show, listeners. Again, that's Coromon out on March 31st. Please play it. Please please get it, please support it, and as always, please be excellent to each other.